Deadlifts are one of the best exercises you can do to look great naked without living in the gym. The problem? Most people mess up their deadlift. Avoid these 7 mistakes when it comes to your deadlift to build strength, mass, and look great naked without living in the gym. Deadlift mistake number 1, your hips are too low. So when your hips are too low in a deadlift, you end up squatting the weight up. This idea comes from lifting with your legs. Well, we're not moving furniture here, we're moving a loaded barbell. And what happens when you drop your hips too low, your shins are gonna go forward based on the angle similar to a squat. They're gonna push the bar further away from your torso, and you're actually increasing the distance from the weight to your spine, which creates more shearing stress directly on your spine. In addition, when you see most people do this, their hips shoot up first and they get right back into the position that they should actually begin the deadlift in. So a much better option here, get your butt up a little bit higher when it comes to the deadlift, lock in that starting position. In addition, check out any video of somebody hoisting a really heavy deadlift. What you're gonna see, it almost looks like they are straight legging the deadlift. That's because this is primarily a hip hinge type movement. It is not a squat movement. So you want to get your butt up a little bit higher, lock in optimal trunk position so you can maximize the deadlift and do it safely. Deadlift mistake number 2, doing touch and go deadlifts. Now, if you're doing deadlifts with a little bit higher reps, I can understand why you'd want to get that shit done. However, that's not going to be ideal because every time you touch the weights on the bottom, you tend to lose stability through your trunk and through your lower back. When that happens, you're training your body to not stay tight. So when you go on to practice heavier deadlifts later on, you're not going to have as much trunk stability, and that's going to lead to issues in terms of maintaining optimal trunk position, which in English means you're going to be more likely to hurt your back and be weaker on the deadlift. A much better option when you're doing a deadlift is to treat each rep within a set as if it is its own set. So if you're doing a set of 5, what you want to do is you want to pause, reset, pause, reset. Treat each one with the same respect. You're gonna build better trunk stability, you're gonna be stronger, you're gonna be more resilient to injury, and you're gonna get stronger faster. Mistake number 3, trying to rip the bar off the ground on every single rep. What happens in most cases when you try to rip the bar off the floor too fast, you end up shooting your ass up in the air like Miley Cyrus twerking at the VMAs. That's not what we want here. When your butt shoots up too high because you're too aggressive on that initial pull, you're gonna lose optimal trunk position, your spine is gonna be keeled over like a dog taking a dump, and pretty soon you're gonna have a back injury. A much better option here, when you initiate the pull on your deadlift, you wanna go slow until you're about mid shin. Think about pushing the floor away, almost like you're doing a leg press. When you do that, you can maintain optimal trunk position, and once the bar gets moving, then you want to accelerate while holding that trunk position with your spine staying neutral. That's going to lead to a much safer pull, and you're going to avoid having your hips shoot up on the deadlift and the increased risk of a back injury. One of my favorite ways to train this is actually an exercise called a dead pull. A dead pull, what you do here is you simply do a deadlift, but you pull up until mid shin, and then you hold for 2 to 3 seconds. What this does, this teaches you how to reinforce that optimal trunk position when you're doing a deadlift, and builds an incredible amount of strength and stability through your lower back. If you want to program a dead pull into your workouts, what you do, I would do 3 to 4 sets of 3 to 5 reps with that 2 to 3 second hold. These are brutal, so you will want to take 2 to 3, even sometimes 4 minutes in between to ensure that you have full recovery. Deadlift mistake number 4, training heavy all the time. Repeat after me. Testing strength does not build strength. Crazy, right? But yet you see so many lifters go in the gym, and every time that they are deadlifting, it is a near-death experience based on the intensity from which they are going. Now, if you take a step back and you look at incredibly successful powerlifters, using Westside Barbell as an example, they are rarely going 100% in a deadlift in their training. Instead, they're going 85, 90%. The reason is the deadlift is incredibly stressful on your central nervous system. And so the heavier that you go and the higher volume that you go, the bigger the inroads of recovery. So anytime that you train, this is what you need to think about. The harder that you train, you're digging a hole, right? Digging a hole. Digging a hole. The only way you refill that hole is with plenty of sleep, plenty of recovery methods, and plenty of food. So the harder that you train, the more dialed in all these other areas need to be, especially when we factor in the deadlift. In addition, grip strength and squeezing as hard as you can is incredibly demanding on your central nervous system. In fact, that is a popular tool to use, a hand dynamometer, to see grip strength differences in terms of readiness for strength and power performance. So when it comes to a deadlift, if you're going heavy all the time, you're actually probably stepping on your own toes and getting in your own way. And finally, deadlifts are incredibly demanding on your lower back. Your lower back is a central figure in so many other exercises, from a squat to an overhead press to even holding position when you're doing something like a row. So if your lower back is excessively fatigued and is preventing your ability to optimize or to perform as best as you can in these other exercises, then you're actually holding yourself back in terms of overall muscular and strength development. So the biggest tip I have when it comes to a deadlift, you do not always want to be testing strength and going all out. In most cases, you're better off leaving 10 to 15% in the tank when it comes to your max. If you want to lose fat and build muscle, the number one thing you need to do, join our Look Great Naked protocol. Head to the link below, book your transformation call, and hit subscribe. Deadlift mistake number 5, not pulling the bar back. Now, if the bar is too far away from your shins, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a much harder time getting that thing moving directly off of the ground, because one of the most important muscles for actually stabilizing your spine is your lats. So what you wanna do when it comes to doing your deadlift, you wanna imagine that you actually have an orange between your armpits and you're pulling that bar back and maintaining a vertical bar path. If we pull back too far, then we're gonna be hitting our shins, but if the bar is too far away, well, we're gonna have a lack of spinal stability, and then our knees can tend to get in the way, and then we can't get that weight directly over the top to finish that pull. Think of it this way. If your shoulders are over the top of the bar before you initiate that pull, the bar is going to want to drift forward unless you're pulling those lats directly in. So what we wanna do is we wanna engage our lats, and we wanna arch our back and get behind the bar. The deadlift is all about leverage. So when we have our weight behind the bar and we push directly through the ground while contracting our lats, that's gonna help us lift that weight in the most simple bar path possible while protecting our spine from going into excessive flexion because the bar would be drifting forward. One additional exercise, which I picked up from Coach Tony Gentlecore up in Boston, is to actually use a band distraction technique. Meaning what you do is you attach a mini band to the barbell and to a squat rack. That band stretches and it pulls the bar actually away from you. So you have to contract your lats to help reinforce that spinal stability and ensure that optimal bar path. Give that a shot within your workouts if you are losing spinal position and the bar is drifting out of place. Deadlift mistake number 6, not having enough air in your belly. Take a second and breathe. If you do a breath and your shoulders rise, well, guess what? You're not breathing optimally. What we want to be able to do is we want to breathe into our diaphragm. So when you breathe in, imagine breathing in through your nose and filling your belly button with air. What this is going to do, when we can start to fill up our belly, our entire rib cage, we can actually create an internal belt which provides stability for our spine during the deadlift. When we do this, this is what's gonna help us stay strong and stable. Now, you can definitely still wear a weightlifting belt, especially as you are going heavier. But one thing you can do when you have that belt, when you put it on, think about breathing in and creating as much tension as you can against that belt, and that's gonna help reinforce that optimal breathing technique to create that internal source of stability for a safer deadlift. Mistake number 7, using a mixed grip. Listen, unless you're competing in powerlifting, there is no need to use a mixed grip. The mixed grip has an unnecessarily high risk for a biceps tear. And I know you love bicep curls, so we can't be messing with that. In addition, when most people do a mixed grip, what happens, they actually have a slight rotation on their pull, and when we do that, we're putting excessive stress directly on our spinal stabilizers like our quadratus lumborum. What can happen here? That's when we're having issues when it comes to flexion, rotation injuries that can often happen with a deadlift, and those can sideline you for months. So what are your better options when it comes to grip, especially if you are lifting heavy? Number 1, get strong as hell with a double overhand grip. Take that as far as you can. Number 2, use a hook grip where you put your thumb underneath and wrap around the bar. This is painful, but you will get used to it. Number 3, you can use straps. One reason straps can work incredibly well, 1, they decrease the neuromuscular load that's required for that hard grip strength, which allows you to actually train a little bit harder and with a little bit higher volume. And when your grip strength is not a limiting factor, you're gonna be able to focus on these additional cues like maintaining optimal trunk and spinal position, which is gonna be exponentially more important. So yes, is it hardcore to not use straps or any of this stuff? Of course it is. But if you're looking to build strength and looking to build muscle and you're not competing in powerlifting, then get as strong as you can without the risk of using a mixed grip on your deadlift. Now, deadlifts are a great exercise for sure. I prefer to do them with lower reps simply because of the demands that are on your body. And if your form breaks down with a deadlift, specifically on the bottom of a deadlift, that's when many people get hurt. So use the conventional deadlift or sumo deadlift for strength. However, if you want to venture into higher reps, then a Romanian deadlift can be a better option simply because you're still maintaining optimal spinal position, but you're putting more tension directly on your hamstrings and your posterior chain. Did you find this helpful? If so, pound that like button and hit subscribe. Now, if you want a free copy of our Chiseled Muscle Cheat Sheet, the no BS way to help you lose body fat and build lean muscle in 90 days, make sure that you go to the description below and download your free copy. Any questions? Drop them in the comments, and can't wait to see you with the next video.